out, because the mirror match here can be kind of slow, actually.
Yeah.
It kind of like slows each other out that way. Amber, like you said, has the opportunity to go really fast. But when you're facing a fellow Amber Steel deck, your counters face each other.
And I think the other interesting part is looking at these deck lists. We're looking at some very similar layouts to their decks.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's another thing where both are running the 4 copies of the Stitch Rockstar as well as the Stitch Carefree Surfer, and so we're gonna see a lot of Stitch, a lot of Ohana coming up.
And I'm noticing even like a lot of the tech cards for these lists are almost the same for these two lists. Like we see multiple copies of Cinderella, Gentle and Kind on both sides. That's not a card you see every time, but that means that they're both gonna have access to even more singers than just Ariel.
100%.
We got a couple copies of Fire the Cannons, which isn't always the most popular card, but again, more removal on both sides.
And even though it's uninkable, it's a 1 cost. It's very versatile. It's very usable. It's very playable. You know, even in situations where you may not want it, you can find a reason to use it at that point. And I think that's any card that you have that almost always has a value is a great card to put in your deck.
And I'm seeing a question in the chat. All decks for this tournament are constructed, so these players have made these decks ahead of time and are simply going in with what they assume is going to be best for the metagame. Looks like we have both our players ready to start, and Nikita's going to ink and simply play a hook to start the game. All right, we're going to see a Stitch New Dog here from Michael. Similar starts here, inking the Rapunzel from the Nikita and coming out with a Stitch.
Now, we said mirror match. I wonder just how mirrored it's going to be. It would be funny just for funsies to see another Captain Hook come out.
Yeah, that would be kind of funny. And we see an inking of the Rapunzel, so maybe... Okay, so double Stitch. But and the Fire the Cannons, again, that card is really good.
Play. You're able to play the character the 1-drop on turn 2 and get rid of one of their 1-drops, and then knowing the play of this other deck being very similar to your own, you know how valuable those small stitches are for that shift target. So getting rid of them is a huge play.
Absolutely. What is your opinion on Fire the Cannons? I know it's another uninkable, which is the problem.
I still like it. I still think that I think it's really good right now while Resist isn't in the game. I think when Resist gets in play, I think it's going to have a little bit of its value taken out for sure. But I think right now, it's just, you could take out so much of the low stuff, and that deck you're going against is very heavy on the low stuff. So going to go ahead and play that Ariel, and then... Was he able to grab a song?
Yeah, be our guest off that.
Able to grab a song. Now, be our guest. It has use. It has actual play use that I see a lot, and I think that it's really important to kind of get cards you're looking for. Like right now, using it to search for that Stitch Rockstar, much more of a value in my mind than just throwing it in the inkwell.
I agree. I tend to like to see that card a little bit later in the game. Once I'm a little bit more established, grab those heavy hitters. We are going to see a grab your sword off of that Ariel singing on Nikita's side, which is really useful. It's going to completely wipe out those smaller guys. So no more shift targets for Rockstar or anything like that, unfortunately, for Michael.
And with 2 of the shift targets in the discard, I mean that your options of pulling it just went down so much at the beginning of the game. You really don't want to see them both go away. And one of the things where you'll see some players they'll actually hold back on that Stitch, playing just the Fire the Cannons in that situation and holding him back just in case his partner or his opponent rather does get that grab your sword, saving him the opportunity to use the Rockstar in the future.
For sure, and it looked like Michael might have that Rockstar in hand actually, which makes it even more unfortunate. That timing of that grab your sword.
It makes it even a more powerful grab your swords. It's one of those things where you don't realize how good a move you do sometimes until you look back and you're like, oh wow, I'm really glad I did that. Absolutely.
All right, gonna play that Be Our Guest here. Does he grab anything? Gonna play grab your sword with the Ariel, but
so that's kind of just an even... Oh, able to get the other Stitch. He's got 3 out of the 4. That's huge. Still able with a shift target now for the Rockstar Stitch. And I don't think he had that in his opening hand, so that was... I'm pretty sure it was a top deck, which is huge.
I'm going to discard it with the Whole New World.
Oh, again, you don't know how powerful your move is until you use it. Oh, man, that's huge. That gets rid of his Rockstar and another Whole New World of his own. That's a great play.
Absolutely. Gonna be okay. We got double lantern now as well, so this is kind of a waiting turn for Nikita here, but
still able to play a one drop. Now they're threatening their own Stitch in return now, with a little bit more firepower with those 2 lanterns on the field as well as the 5 ink that they have. That's a pretty big move if they're able to get the Stitch out, because they're still able to play 3 potential 1-drops and get card draw off of them, replenishing them, which even if you don't hit, just the replenishment alone is huge.
Nikita is threatening Big Tank, Surfer Stitch, cards like that next turn right off the bat. Meanwhile, Michael still trying to get set up. I don't think he was really appreciative of that whole new world there.
Not, especially because he had one in his hand. He was wanting to play it on his own terms, and not having control over when your hand gets taken out. Definitely, it is not the greatest. And even though he didn't have to pay for the whole new world, he kind of did in his own way.
Exactly. Yeah, he could have shifted into that Rockstar, sung that whole new world with Ariel, throwing away those 2 lanterns that would have been in Nikita's hand. That is huge for sure.
Now, I might have missed it. He wasn't able to get any heal card draw off of that Rapunzel.
No, he simply played that Rapunzel, which is interesting.
Because there was a card in play that he could have potentially attacked, so I'm not sure exactly what the thought process there was.
Maybe the only thing I can think is he didn't want to tap down his Ariel and make her vulnerable next turn, but again, I think that is probably a misplay right there.
Yeah, I would have definitely used that to my advantage. Because two cards, he knowing the deck, he would have to have specific removal. It just seems like the value would have been pretty high there.
Without Whole New World, also, this deck can really struggle to get into it can struggle to get out of, top deck mode, because sometimes you just stall out, and you really want to draw those cards with things like Rapunzel when you can, and to just not do that is unfortunate. Gonna get rid of that lantern with Beast here.
Looks like, thank you. It looks like someone in the chat said he was able to heal the Ariel. We must have just missed that the damage counter on Ariel.
Got you. So there was simply no
okay. He was able to get the value out, and that's important. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that very much. We must have just missed that counter. Able to put the Beast on there to get rid of that lantern, so stalling out a little bit of his opponent's momentum, inking and putting another Stitch. We're seeing it's Stitch-a-palooza going on right now.
Lots of adoptions going on. Lots of happy Lilos in the chat. Gonna simply quest with Stitch here, going to 2 lore. Now we're seeing a lot of really good curve here from Nikita, but does he have the bigger hitters, the Surfer Stitches, the Big Tinks in hand? If you simply stall out with a really good board state and nothing to really reward yourself for, going to be interesting.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have some. And that's, I think, where you want to have your giant fairies, where you want to have your, Surfer Stitch and stuff like that. But I don't think that we're getting those right now, and that's causing a big issue when it comes to any kind of big threats or anything like that. And we just have the small game, little pecks here and there right now going on.
I'm looking at Michael's hand right now, and that is pretty stacked.
Whole new world. Oh, no?
Gonna discard. He discarded the whole new world off Simba.
Okay.
Gonna sing the swords with Ariel, and then he has like Surfer Stitch in hand.
So Michael feels he's got the severe advantage right now for him to throw away that whole new world when that's a key part of the deck is to keep fuel going. So he doesn't want to refuel his opponent in any way, and I think that he is more confident in his ability to keep his own resources just by his own steam. He doesn't need anything else.
Yeah, it looks like Nikita might be down to 2 or 3 cards in hand.
Yeah.
So this is going to be okay. So we do see the big Tinkerbell come down. Not going to kill anything, but it is going to put things in range. That 2 damage can be really effective from Tinkerbell.
And it looks like Beast was going to try to take out one of the bigger, I believe it was Rapunzel, but it wasn't. Maybe forgot about the Simba on the board there.
Yeah,
so
the bodyguard's going to be huge. Especially considering the 2 damage from that swords, that will kill the Beast if he does attack into that.
And looking over the deck list, I don't believe that either one of them is running any Maximus. So Simba being the biggest bodyguard they have, it's Maximus is definitely a good alternate option for that late game threat because it can add that support factor, bringing smaller threats much higher into the threat level. But with just having the Simba there, it's going to be important to get as much value out of that little guy as possible.
Absolutely, especially considering we have actually been seeing a lot more of a rise of that Amber Steel Musketeer style deck with the Big Mickey, the Goofy, the Maximus, simply because of the power of Bodyguard. It is really, really good, especially once you get an established board state and your opponent doesn't really have a way to deal with you going wide. Like, even a Swords here isn't going to do a whole lot, because we'll simply be able to heal that Rapunzel next turn and probably get right back into it. Big Tink is like really doing a lot of work here, though.
Yeah, definitely. And like, again, just talking a little bit about future sets with the ability to gain lore off of healing damage, Tink doing that one spread across everything is going to have a whole different effect on the game. So we may see a shift from moves like that being a little bit less valuable in the future.
And even if Nikita has the swords, I could see Michael just turning everything sideways here and just getting a huge lead. And he has the Surfer Stitch now, so he's a little bit more comfortable.
Looks like he's going to trade Simbas for Simbas. Just the circle of life, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, going to trade the Aerial for the Beast. Not a bad choice. And then just not giving his opponent any options to take that advantage of 2 damage with Tinkerbell, which, honestly, very good trade there for Michael, I think.
It's one of those things where, you know, if you had Rapunzel and Surfer Stitch and Ariel didn't have any damage, you maybe you risk it and let him take out one of them. But with him being able to take out one of your bigger people like Rapunzel as well as your Ariel, it's just not worth it.
Absolutely. And it looks like we are going to see a quest here from Nikita on Big Tink, going to 6.
Did a quest and he did a little dance with
the Tink. It looks like I wasn't 100% sure if he wants to do that. Because you can just double in with Surfer Stitch, Rapunzel, and then heal off. If you have Rapunzel in hand, just heal the Surfer Stitch, draw a bunch of cards. Like, that's not great. But he does have the Rockstar Stitch in play now, which is interesting.
Now, what would be more valuable if it came down to it? Would it be taking the Surfer Stitch and then healing his damage off the Tinkerbell, or would it be using using the Rapunzel to heal Rapunzel, so that way you could potentially take out the Tinkerbell without losing either character? What do you think would be more valuable?
So it's going to be interesting to see, because if he has another Big Tink in hand, right? Nikita has another Big Tink in hand. That Rockstar can kill that Surfer Stitch.
Yep.
But the question is, would he want to trade that? Maybe not, but he does have the 5 willpower, so this is all, of course, assuming that Michael has a way to deal a damage. But in that mirror match, there's just so much removal from Steel on both sides that's a really hard question.
Yeah.
Because I personally, I think I might just heal the Surfer Stitch.
I think for me, I might go the opposite way. I might keep the lore on board for that one, because it doesn't look like Nikita has much answers as far as I believe. 1 card is all I'm seeing right now. It might be 1 or 2, but definitely low on hand. So I would just want to try to get rid of as much of that board as possible while maintaining as much of my board state as I could.
That absolutely makes sense.
Taking out a Lantern with the Beast. We're seeing both people run the Beast, and just every single turn we've seen the Beast, value, 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 value. It is a good card, and I think it's only going to get better with new shift targets and everything, but as is, such a great card.
I think it's one of the most underrated cards in first chapter, because for a while there, it looked like people were questioning if Lantern was worth playing, right?
Yeah.
But now people have kind of established that, yes, it's worth playing in Amber Steel, and it's 100% worth playing in Ruby Amber.
Oh,
so, yeah. And then you see things like Sapphire or Ruby Amethyst. They all play a lot of items, which are key to their strategy. So I think going heavier on the Beast than we were before is the right choice here.
Especially when you talk about Ruby and Amber, because Ruby Amber, getting up to that 5 ink with the 2 lanterns, and you're able to play a bigger character, and that bigger character now can sing Be Prepared earlier, that's huge.
Yeah, for sure. Right. I don't know what we... This still isn't looking 100% great. He was able to draw some cards off that Rockstar Stitch there, playing the Baby Stitch and the Hook. I still think this is really a hard situation, though, overall. Surfer Stitch, Beast, Rapunzel. And we got 3 cards in hand for Michael. Looks like he's simply going to pass. And I did see the Fire of the Cannons in there, so we might see some more removal here.
Not really a big turn out of Nikita, and it kind of needed to be with all those big bodies on the board.
Especially with all his lanterns being shattered.
Yeah.
Beast just coming in and ruining the place.
Just ripped them up.
Yep, they're on the ground, torn up.
Had Lumiere come through and burn up.
All right, gonna see a Be Our Guest here.
Checking his discard to see how many he has of certain cards, trying to see if it's worth picking one out.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to the point where I think you're more and more safe to just turn sideways. I do think you probably remove those two simply because of the removal threat, the hook, and then you don't want to give him another shift target for a second Rockstar or something.
He's going to take the Tinker and then play the Tink, so it's going to put damage on everybody.
Now, with Beast on the field and Surfer Stitch on the field, Rockstar cannot comfortably turn sideways without some kind of healing like Rapunzel. Again, we don't have many cards in hand for Nikita either, so if this lore, like, we're building up a lot of lore. We have 9 lore on board for Michael right now.
Michael really taking a more control style to this deck because he is just not, he's choosing to not turn Rapunzel sideways, but to take out the hook, making sure to have as little threat on the board as possible, then using Ariel to take out the other Stitch, and then turning the rest sideways for a gain of, it looks like, about 4 lore.
Going to 9 here. So even with, I actually think that's the right choice here for Michael.
Yeah.
Nikita is clearly stalling out a little bit, especially with the loss of those lanterns. So I think, so we have 9 lore on board. We're going to have a 2-turn clock, especially if Michael's able to play even more stuff next turn. Nikita needs like double swords or something here to even get back into this.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Okay, so we do see the Cinderella, which, if he has the double swords, could be really helpful, actually, having another Singer in the deck.
I think a lot of people sleep on the fact that Cinderella is a Singer 5 because she's a 4. It's like, well, it's only 1 extra, but man, every time I've had her on the board, it makes such a big difference with my options and what I'm able to do. Because now he could sing with both of those characters. He won't because he's going to take the damage on Surfer Stitch, and then he's going to fire the cannons to take out the Surfer Stitch. So that was good. I definitely agree with that. It was between that and taking out the Rapunzel with the Rockstar in my mind, but I think what he did was definitely the better play for sure.
I think you are correct. I just still think it might be too little too late.
Oh, to be fair, it's going to be an uphill battle from Nikita at this point to make something happen. I cannot tell exactly what that card in hand is. I was going to say Maui, but that's the wrong color.
Yeah. It might be a Surfer Stitch.
It is. Yeah, good call. Good call.
Yep, and simply going to scoop up. Yeah, that's just too far behind at this point. Board presence for Michael is just too strong.
Yep.
So he is going to take game 1 here in this second round. Going to scoop up. What do you think might be the move here? It's interesting to see Michael take a more control style to this matchup, this mirror match. My first instinct probably would have been to go in the opposite direction, do a more aggressive approach, try to race my opponent. But it seems like the opposite of that is actually what worked out best here.
Yeah, he definitely, I mean, with the way Michael just played that deck out, I feel like there's no, in my mind, I'm not taking the slow route. He just showed that he has a really good understanding of how the late game of that deck works and how to stop it. He maybe has done maybe more mirror matches or something, but it definitely feels like there's a deeper understanding of the late game because Nikita seemed like he just had no options, whereas Michael had a ton of options. So if I'm Nikita, I'm just gonna quest. I'm gonna quest fast and just hope he doesn't have the answers right away.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think that the answers that Nikita's gonna have, I don't want to put anybody out. He might have just had a bad hand, and maybe he has all those same answers, so he might just stick to his guns. But if I was in that same situation, I would definitely be trying to speed it up a little bit because I seemed like he had an early lead and was kind of commanding it in the beginning stage.
Absolutely. And I think Amber Steel is one of the most interesting and complex mirror matches in the game. Because you kind of have like that mid-rangey style to the deck where you can go aggressive or you can go more control like Michael did last game, and it's really up to you to kind of play the field and like figure it out in the moment. When you have a deck that's doing the exact same thing as you, that's really tough sometimes to figure out.
Yeah.
All right, looks like we're figuring out mulligans here still. Nikita's going to throw 3 back. All right, looks like we're going to see a turn 1 hook again from Nikita here. And Inking of the Beast. And simply playing another hook from Michael.
The mirror has mirrored once again.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if it works out the exact same way.
I definitely think that it really is going to come down to who gets the card that they're looking for, because both these decks are eerily similar in layout. So I would say that if he gets a little bit too much uninkable in the beginning, that could really set him back. Michael seems to be doing great with ink right now, with playing a Simba and then kind of choosing what he wants out of that next draw. We have 1 uninkable on the field and in hand for Nikita. Sorry, 2 in hand for Nikita. So hopefully he doesn't keep drawing any uninkables. That would definitely slow him down a bit.
Yeah, throwing out that big tink on that Simba. He looks like he's going to go a little bit more wide here. Maybe have some shift targets. Okay, we're seeing turn 3 Cinderella. This is going to be very interesting because now Nikita automatically has access to a singer that can quest for 2 and has a pretty decent stat line. So I think this might be a sleeper card. I think you might be right about that.
Yeah, and it's the thing about Cinderella over Ariel is, yes, you don't get the search for a song, which is huge, but it does miss. With Cinderella, however, she always has a bigger butt. She always quests for 2. It's just a harder target to deal with. In some situations, I would definitely late game prefer Cinderella over Ariel.
Oh yeah, absolutely, especially in a deck like the mirror match that has so much removal. Like you have swords, you have smash to deal with. You can't just quickly deal with it like you could in Ariel. That willpower is a huge difference.
Plus, the amount of times I've gone to use Ariel and then sent 4 of my best cards to the bottom of the deck has just been so many. So sometimes it's nice to have the option to sing without the punishment of sending cards to the bottom when you necessarily didn't want to.
Yeah, for sure.
Huge grab your swords into fire the cannons right there to board wipe. Coming out of Nikita, that's good. Keeping the momentum on his side.
It's easy to forget how much of a downswing having to do that on the bottom of the deck is, because there's really very few shuffle mechanics in this game, if any. And
Brooms is the only one.
Yeah, Brooms is the only one I can think of. Yeah,
and hopefully that changes, because when you have to send a rock star or a surfer to the bottom, you're like, I kind of lost on that one.
Yep.
Fire the cannons going at the Captain Hook.
See, but this is the power of Cinderella coming out. Yep. Now has 2 singers, and with a lantern, we have a lot of
double
lantern now.
Another ink. Oh, we're moving fast from Nikita. There's some confidence out of these plays. He knows
whole
exactly
new world.
What he's doing. This is the hand he was won last time. I could tell. You got a whole new world coming out of the Ariel. Then you still have a more option to do stuff if you need to from that Cinderella singing wise. And I believe he still has 1. No, he may not have ink left. I'm not sure. He might have 1 ink left. He's got a couple things turned sideways, but yeah, he had 2 ink left. Sorry.
Okay, gonna play the Simba here.
He's gonna choose to take the draw. Sometimes I won't draw off the Simba, and I think that I need to start making sure to draw every time.
Yeah, it's just. I get it if you're down to 1 or 2 cards, but I draw every time otherwise.
That's a big one. Getting rid of the Rapunzel. That's a lot of card draw and a lot of meat on the board. So that's an interesting choice.
That tells me that he has a lot of good cards in his hand.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, he still had both of the land. Oh, he's going super wide. He's going to quest for 2, I believe.
Looks like that's a hook. Yeah, quest for 2 with the Cinderella. Go to 3.
And I believe that's pass on that.
Yeah, pass in there.
Wow, that was a great turn. And
I'm sure Nikita's feeling the pressure. You were mentioning him speeding up because of that game 1 loss. We're not playing Emerald Steel or Amethyst Emerald here. This is still a mid-range deck, so it's not as fast as you might like for a comfortable game 3. So I'm sure Nikita's trying to get through this game 2 as fast as they can. All right, let's see here. Michael's play here is going to be interesting. Looks like he does have a grab your sword, which would deal a lot of damage to the field.
Definitely take out a couple things and not take out the main threats, but it seems like the best play. Oh, he's going to set himself up to use it next turn with that Cinderella. Both of them showcasing the Cinderella and what she can do is great. Another underrated card that I just think that it should get more play.
I agree, and it's going to be really interesting to see this mirror match with that because...
Because usually that's kind of like the ace in the hole that some of these Amber Steel players are kind of counting on. Is having that extra card, but now both of them have it.
They both have it,
have the same threat to worry about. inking a beast. I'm going to go ahead and we now have 5 ink with 2 lanterns. That's potential 7.
Gonna use 3. Surfer Stitch? Okay, we're simply going to see an aerial.
There's a whole choir on the board right now. They could just be singing together. It's like they're getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah, we got 3 songs without touching the inkwell.
And then able to pull the Grab Your Swords. That's huge. Probably going to use one of the other ones to sing it at that point.
Does he have another in hand is the question.
A double Grab Your Swords would be great, but it still wouldn't be enough to take out Cinderella. Would you use it or save one?
I would definitely save it in that case. Unless it's going to knock them out, all I'm really doing then...
A Stitch Rockstar Shift, too.
Nice.
Big
That's very
play.
big.
That is a huge last 2 turns coming out of Nikita. This is going to be hard to stop. This
Just
is
turning sideways, questing with everything. That's going to be, looks like 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 lore coming in for a total of 11. And we have 9 lore on floor. So we're threatening lethal here. Obviously, I'm sure Michael's not going to let that happen here, but that is interesting how quickly that shifted.
Yeah. Definitely a much, much stronger showing coming out of Nikita. I'm thinking what I'm gathering from watching these 2 games is I think Nikita really likes this like low to the ground, quick, get a bunch of stuff on the board. I think that's the bread and butter of his style, and I could relate to that because that's how I run that deck.
Yeah, I love like more aggressive. I play Lilo in my list, and the double grab your sword.
Wow, that was huge. That literally took everything down to 1 HP. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is
such a big play.
Especially if we see like a big tank next, like Cinderella and Rockstar Stitches, you're basically giving your opponent an opportunity to Rapunzel. Now, if Nikita doesn't have the Rapunzel, he's gonna kind of get punished for throwing out that other one, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Gonna be. I would have to think he has to have another one, right? Like. That is a fascinating choice if he doesn't, to throw away the Rapunzel there.
Yeah, because that Rapunzel right now would have just been so helpful. I mean, I don't think he does.
That is an interesting choice.
I'm curious to what else was in his hand that he thought was more valuable that he couldn't have kept or he couldn't have got rid of in that moment, because he seemed to have a lot of cards in his hand when he made that choice.
Yeah. All right. All right, Surfer Stitch. This could be big.
It's definitely what he needed was something like that. I wonder what he's going to... I mean, he has so much lore on the board still, though. Even if he were to turn sideways with the 2 characters that he does have in play, that puts him at 16, and then he has another 2, which is pretty much unanswered with this deck. I mean, you really can't spot removal Surfer Stitch with... Amber Steel without a ton, and he just used 2 Grab Your Swords. He probably doesn't have a lot of removal left.
And he's turning sideways here, going to quest for 5. He's at 16.
Yeah, that's the play.
Again, we're dealing with Grab Your Sword here, right? You don't have to be prepared. You don't have anything like that. So these big, bulky willpower characters are really hard to deal with.
100%.
So in this situation, when you don't have a stalled out board state for Nikita like we did last game, going more aggressive, I think, is the play.
Yeah, definitely. It's gonna take out the hook. That's interesting. Okay, that's very interesting. What has he got in hand? Because he kind of needs to take care of the big stuff. Okay, so he's gonna use that. That's what was gonna clear out. Okay, so that's a good one because they were already at 1 HP.
Yep.
So now he's gone from lethal to just 2 on the board, or 2 more on the board. So he's gonna be at 18 on this next turn, most likely, which is still pretty close. With 1 to 18, it's looking not so hot for Michael the second round, which is what you wanted to see for Nikita to kind of keep his chance alive of winning this one.
Now, Nikita does have to play something else here, though, because all the characters that Michael has on board can't, and there you go. That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a card. He's going to draw.
Now,
he's going wide again. This is the 3rd time this match Nikita has gone 4 to 5 characters wide.
I mean, you're basically telling Michael have double. Even then, like, I'm trying to think. So you could kill. So if you have double Grab Your Sword, you could attack with Tinkerbell, deal 2. You have to have like double Grab Your Sword smash. That's a lot to ask. Does he even play Smash in this deck?
I don't think he's actually even playing Smash.
They don't play a single copy of Smash. Never seen that. Usually it's at least a 2 of.
If you're gonna run the Fire the Cannons, you're usually gonna run the Smash too, because it's inkable at least.
I mean, I'm thinking maybe they're just thinking like they have a really high curve already, so they want to play the 1-drops. But like,
I don't know. That might bite him in the butt right here because I don't know any other option he has without that Smash. The Smash was the only thing I could think of that he could do it with, because he's gonna have to he's going to have to pull both Grab Your Swords and his last Fire the Cannons, because I don't think he's used both, but he's only running 2. So he has to use all the removal left in his deck, and then maybe.
You know, he's grabbing the whole new world, so who knows? Sing it with Cinderella here and see what you get and hope for the best. I mean, I don't know. I think personally, if I'm in this situation, I am scooping and trying to use as much time as possible.
With 21 minutes left, we saw how close that last match came because of time. I would definitely to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. But we're gonna go for it. We're gonna get all 7 cards. I kind of like the idea, instead of Cinderella singing "Whole New World," of Stitch singing it.
Okay.
Doing the whole thing. Yeah, it'd be pretty great.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, he's just going to scoop it up here. So that is going to get us to Game 3, and we actually are going to have a pretty decent amount of time.
Yeah, that's definitely enough time. That's more time than the last 2 games have taken, essentially, so they should be clear to get a clear winner right here without too much rushing, and it seems like both of them are pretty comfortable with going quick if needed. So, love to see it, both having to kind of see the other person's answers to what they had. Definitely both of them having a different approach to the deck, which I think is really interesting. Michael, I think, just spitballing here, but Michael seems like he's played more Ruby Amethyst players with his deck, and Nikita seems like he's maybe played against more of those Emerald or Sapphire players, so he can go wider faster and be more comfortable with that, whereas, it seems like Michael doesn't feel as comfortable going wide quick, because maybe he's been punished by that too many times.
Yeah, and it was a nice adjustment by Nikita, right? Like, we see...
Yep.
We see Michael take a more of a control approach, and I think he read on that and is like, okay, I'm going to go even more aggressive as the counter response. And I think that's also a really good choice, considering that you're down Game 1 in a 3-round match, right? Yep. Again, you're always going to be dealing with time in these situations. So I really like that adjustment from Nikita. And I think if we see stylistically, gameplay-wise, this coming Game 3, I would say that he probably has a little bit of a leg up here. But it really is anybody's game. These are both very good players, clearly, with their own styles, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this Game 3 shakes out.
And again, I think, I don't know if it was the main reason, but I do think Cinderella had a pretty big effect on how that game shook out. Because,
absolutely.
I mean, having that extra Singer 5 is just, it's so helpful. Especially when your deck is really... If I had to pick, 4 cards that were the Mount Rushmore of this deck, it's going to be Grab Your Swords, Whole New World. It's going to be Rapunzel.
Yep.
And then it's going to be Ariel. So, I mean, if I'm going with those 4 cards, Cinderella is that 5th one. If we're chiseling a 5th head in Mount Rushmore, she's right there. She's got just as much help.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like, we saw that last game. Like, we had 3 singers on board. And you can just play. You can play Whole New World, Grab Your Sword. You don't have to touch your ink. Like, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
I'm really going to be curious to see, or if she kind of goes away after Floodborn, see the evolution of that Amber Steel deck. But in this situation, I think it was a pretty cool choice to see.
I think singer decks are definitely going to be a thing, and I think that as you go into the more songs being available, I think you're for sure going to see Cinderella creep up on people's list.
Now, Mew, if you were to play Amber Steel in this tournament, when you had to pick, would you rather go the Hades route or would you go the Cinderella route?
It really is tough because I think Hades is better for everything except the mirror match, and I think, again, the mirror match is not as useful, and I think that Cinderella is maybe more useful in the mirror match than everywhere else, but I think just because of Inkable, just because Singer 5, I'm going Cinderella.
I'm actually going Cinderella too. I've been burned too many times from Uninkables in hand, and I used to play the Hades, and I actually switched it out. It's just really risky. I'm very surprised they play the Fire the Cannons over the Smash. That's a fascinating choice.
Seriously, that is really crazy because, yes, it's a 3 cost. I think if Smash was somehow a song, I think it would be a shoo-in for sure, but since it's not, it makes it hard. So going into this next match, we got Nikita able to fire off a Lantern early on, and it has 2 1-drops on the board, so was able to play the Lantern as well as a 1-drop, is what you really want to do with that, so you're not having a quote-unquote a dead turn with not playing a character. And then Michael answering back with a Stitch of his own and an Aerial.
Did he whiff there on the song?
I'm going to be honest, I didn't see if he got one or not on that one.
Do we see the turn? No. Unfortunately, no turn 3 Rockstar for Nikita. That would have been just absolutely incredible to see. Gonna get the whole new world off
and
that
play
aerial
it right
though.
away. Oh no, I thought he was. I'm so sorry. I thought he was playing that. Okay, that makes more
He's
sense.
gonna break the game and play it right away. No, inking the hook and then fire the cannons. I mean, that is the benefit. Like a lot of times your curve in the early game for this deck, you'll have like 1 or 2 unused inks, and I guess that is a little bit more useful than smash.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a fascinating choice.
And are you using it on the Stitch to get rid of the potential threat of the Rockstar shift at that point?
I think that absolutely is 100% what you do there.
Another aerial. We're having a lot of aerials, a lot of
double
Stitches.
Double whiff for Michael. That's just very unfortunate.
I hate to see it. Is the hardest part. If there would ever be a card that would be better than aerial, it would have to allow you to pick a song from your deck and not just search the top 4, because that's the only draw side of that card.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's see what's happening here.
Oh, we're gonna grab your swords, taking out one of the aerials, and then
fire the cannons.
Oof.
Maybe we're being
knocking
proven
that
wrong
dice
about
off
that.
A little hard. I don't think he liked that aerial getting taken out like that. I think he had some plans.
No, that's the thing. He probably wanted to sing Whole New World, something similar.
Oh, it really stalls you out. If you have to play Whole New World outright with full ink and you have to play 5 to use it, that is a rough turn.
Playing the Rapunzel with no healing just to have a body on board. I mean, if you're
see
playing
the lack
2
of value.
aerials,
Another Whole New World.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
no, that's the
man.
thing. If you're playing 2 aerials, both whiff the song and then both die immediately, that just doesn't feel good.
You have 0 value that you just got out of some of the most important cards of your deck. So that Whole New World was able to replenish both people's hands, which is great. I think that Michael needed that, but I don't think Michael is really loving the hand that he got.
Yeah, unfortunately, Nikita might have had to do that there. That's the double-edged sword again of Whole New World, right? If your opponent has just an absolutely terrible hand, but you're starting to get rid of fuel, do you refuel or do you just let your opponent suffer through a terrible hand?
It's really tough. I think a lot of the time I'm choosing refuel if the opponent is showing like they maybe have already gotten rid of some of their good stuff, and maybe they, like with 2 aerials gone and some other stuff, I was like, I'll probably refuel on that one. But you do run the risk of now, do they get the stuff they need that maybe they were lacking?
Absolutely. So we are going to see the 3rd aerial from Michael finally getting something. He got the grab your sword off that search. No, but yeah, in general, I think you're absolutely right. A huge board presence, right?
Yeah.
If you have like a Rockstar and a Surfer Stitch,
if you're already developed, is
like
one thing.
just quest and win the game. But
Yeah.
if in this early game, I do think it is the right choice to Whole New World.
Yeah, and there's a lot of times where it'll really. What's interesting to me is when matches come down to things like that, or things like not questing your characters for 3, 4, 5 turns,
Yep.
because you know that your opponent doesn't have removal, and if you just wait it out, you'll beat them. And those kinds of plays, I think, are when it really gets interesting. And usually, you do see stuff like that in the mirror match because you're already aware. Hey, if I turn this sideways, I know what's coming.
And I think a lot of times players, when they're playing on things like Pixelborn, you're seeing things like Amber Sapphire become more and more popular that has almost no removal. You get a little bit comfortable. You forget how much removal there is in Steel.
Yeah.
There is a lot of removal. And if you're not careful, you can get stalled out really quickly like we saw in Game 1 for Nikita.
100%. And you can already tell with the way these decks are set up, if either one of these players went against a deck without removal in any way, say maybe like Emerald and Amethyst, they're going wide, and they're going wide at 1,000 miles an hour.
Absolutely. And I think that's a big reason why Steel and Ruby have both been so successful in these early metagames, is because of removal is just
Surfer Stitch coming down, and
that is
2-card draw.
I mean, Michael's really wide here, but like he doesn't have any threats on board, right? So the second something like a Surfer Stitch, he has big Tink out on Nikita's side. Like, you really need to play that grab your sword. And again, I was gonna say smash, but he doesn't play the smash, so like I feel like that's gonna really come to bite him against those bigger willpower targets.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
Like big Tink, you do not want to leave her alive on the board for multiple turns.
No, because that's a 2 for every time she gets a chance to attack for the most part, especially when you're running these small little cards. I mean, she's able to take out Rapunzel, take 1 damage, and then take out either Simba if he's turning sideways. And that just, there's such little value gets out of those cards at that point, and it puts all the value into Tinkerbell.
Absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see what Michael plays here. I think you were absolutely right that he didn't love whatever he drew off that Whole New World, and he didn't love his opening hand either. So he's already 3 aerials in. He had to play the Rapunzel without drawing any cards off of it. Like, This is not a fun situation right now.
No, it's definitely not the most. You want everybody to have a fair shake at it, and it does unfortunately seem like Michael didn't draw into what he was hoping to. But that's also one of the best and most rewarding feelings is when you're able to come out of that hole and make something happen. You know what I mean? Like that's important.
It's inherent to a TCG, right? You're at war with luck. Good players 100%. Are at war with luck.
Stitch Rockstar able to come out and singing Grab Your Sword. So he does have an answer for the hook, which is good. That was a big hitter.
Is he gonna have to? I mean, Simba's can't. He's gonna have to triple into this big tank if he wants to take it out, and he does.
Honestly, that's a perfectly good move, though. I know it doesn't feel like a ton of value, but I think it comes down to if you're just talking about ink for ink. It was 4 ink to get those on the field. It was 6 ink to get those on the field. It was 6 ink to get Stitch on the field. It's a fair trade.
And you're getting a lot more value out of getting rid of that big tank than you are out of 2 Simbas and a Rapunzel. Especially if you don't have the Rapunzel in hand to start getting cards drawn off of it.
It looks like he did have the Rapunzel.
Yeah, we forgot to put the damage counters on that Surfer Stitch, but from this Grab Your Sword, he is going to draw from that.
Okay.
So, again, that's the last thing you want to see as Michael here is even more card advantage for Nikita. That is going to just continue to increase his lead here. Grab your, or Be Our Guest.
Just Simba. I'm not sure what he's doing with Be Our Guest. I think he's playing it. I think he put the wrong card
I think
down.
he meant to play Stitch and put down Be Our Guest, but all right. Glad that was clarified.
It'd be like that sometimes, unfortunately.
Stitch was the guest, so he's arrived. All right, double Stitch.
Oh, he's inviting his friends too.
Yep.
You know when you invite somebody and then they're like they bring a +1. You're like, I didn't say you could bring a +1.
That's what was that other one? 625.
Yeah,
like sandwiches.
The sandwich man.
Yeah. I hope they make a card of him soon. That'd be amazing.
Yes.
Like to have some kind of sandwich themed ability or something.
I would just love that. Just a whole array of Stitch characters. They have 626 options.
Because right now we have Gantu and we have Stitch and that's about it, and Lilo. So I'm curious to see. I love Lilo and Stitch so much. Okay.
Absolutely.
The Beast coming down. Gonna get rid of the Lantern. Then we're singing Grab Your Sword, getting rid of those Stitches. They didn't stay for long.
Only less than 10 minutes in this last round, or I'm sorry, the second round, but the last round of the second round.
Gonna take out that Simba Protective Cub here. A little bit of a comeback here, maybe, but we're having some presence on the board. It's really going to come down to what Nikita has, but he has had a lot of card advantage, so the chances are that he will have a response. Michael looking like he's down to 1 card in hand, so if Nikita has any way to deal with this, Michael's going to basically be in top deck mode, and with Surfer Stitch and Rapunzel out, we are on, what is that, a 4-turn clock, 3-turn clock, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, he's able to, stay cool, calm, and collected, and be able to make the right choices.
And he does have the Grab Your Sword.
There's a lot of traded damage.
Double Grab Your Sword!
Man!
No! Oh, Michael's got to be feeling bad here.
He was just looking
dejected.
Like, hey, I'm on the right man. What an answer! You don't see Double Grab Your Sword like too often, but we're seeing it a lot today. A lot. Oh, the way he's flicking those dice off, it hurts me. I know he's so frustrated. I get it. It's tough.
Our guest here.
There's really, what a play out of Nikita to keep the momentum in his favor.
That really tastes bad to get the Surfer Stitch after your board has been gone, so you're not going to draw anything off of that.
Is it even worth playing?
Very unfortunate here. You kind of.
I don't even think he has the ink to play it. Actually, only has 6.
You probably don't want to anyway, but you really got to hope that you can draw another 1-drop, lantern it out, play him, draw 2 really good cards. But how many swords has Michael played so far is another big thing.
I think it's been 2, but it might be 3.
Gonna be interesting to see. That Surfer Stitch still has 6 willpower. He has really no way to deal with that, and that's just going to continue to quest for 2 lore every single turn.
Yeah, that's definitely. It's tough. He had all the answers he could have and need, and then they were just gone in a flash like that. And that is this. It's such a crazy. And getting the damage off with another Rapunzel. Nikita getting so much value right now. Putting another lantern out. He just lost a lantern because of Beast and was able to replenish it almost the next turn.
I feel like Michael has to play for the draw here almost because this is not looking very promising.
Now he's able to freely quest with everybody without protection from the bodyguard. So we're going to put another 4 on the board. So I'm going to put him at 11.
Yeah, so if we officially have, what is that, 5, 6, 7 lore on board. So we're he's simply going to scoop him up.
Yeah, that's
Nikita taking round number 2 here in that mirror match. Very well game. A really unfortunate series of draws there for Michael, but very well done, very well played by Nikita. Very nice adjustment after that first game.